in fostering access to justice, especially when you're focusing on promoting rule of law? Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Is the public benefiting? And what generally affects the judiciary? The judiciary should be an independent arm of government. It should be trusted. People should have confidence. The citizens should have confidence that the judiciary is promoting rule of law in educating justice. So our major focus and why we're opening it and why we focused on this particular area is you're looking at the situation and what's happening. I'll give an example. Recently, the judiciary launched the annual performance report. And when you look at the annual performance report, the Chief Justice tells us that only 10% Ugandans have been able to access justice through the court system. Now, you ask yourself, where do the 90% go? What happens? Do people have confidence in the judiciary? And why don't they have the confidence in the judiciary? In adjudication of justice, where are they going wrong? You've heard of these reports of corruption, how the reports clearly show that the judiciary is one of the most corrupt entities. So if you're to go to court, are you really sure that you get justice? You're seeing aspects of people overstaying prisons, congestion in prisons. People will tell you that they've spent years without appearing in court. Some people actually almost serve their sentences before they get justice, or they even appear before judicial officers. Some people have lost trust in the decisions of these judicial officers. Now, when you look at all that, with the moment the public loses trust in the judiciary, regardless of what the reasons could be, because we understand some of them could be structural challenges. It doesn't matter.
And that's why I was going to say that, in as much as those are the realities on ground, and that's to the public, I'm sure that, the judiciary system is also not there deliberately doing that injustice to the public. And so what are some of the things that on the other side of judiciary they are handicapped with, that they're not able to deliver justice accordingly and also timely?
Whereas we might have those structural challenges that they will put across, there are also challenges that can be avoided. There are also individual and other aspects that we need to address as a nation. For example, is the judiciary independent? You've heard of scenarios where judicial officers are forced into making particular decisions just because they are benefiting a particular group of people. They've been called and they've been told to deliver that ruling in that particular manner. It goes also back to the way we have these people appointed into office. Is it transparent? Now, if someone is in office and they're serving the interests of another person, there's no they're going to be impartial. There's no they're going to deliver justice. But again, things like corruption, that is not a structural issue. We have cases that have been in court. If you look at the backlog, the backlog issue, cases have been in court for so long. Some of these judicial officers, you find they do not even report to work. Someone goes and works two times, in a week. But they're accountable to the public. They are using public funds. They are a public body that are supposed to serve the nation. But if someone comes to court in a week, they go there twice, especially when you go to upcountry courts. It has nothing to do with the structural challenges. The Chief Justice, one of the achievements he talked about during the launch of the report was the improvement in infrastructure and the numbers, saying now we have more judicial officers, the salaries have been enhanced, we are recruiting more judicial officers, we are extending the high court circuits. Right now, almost every district has a chief magistrate. So that one is being resolved. But even then, we still have the old challenges. You still hear about case backlog, regardless of having the human resource, their salaries being enhanced, but still the performance.
So away from human resource and the salary issue, what are the other structural challenges?
I wouldn't really want to, the structural challenges they'll tell us, the issues personally I would think is there are some areas you still go to and you find people have to walk over 10 miles to access justice. You go to, let's say, Karamoja, and you find there's only one high court circuit. But that notwithstanding, even the ones who are put in places to deliver justice, they're not delivering. They're not working. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I know it's quite immense. It's a lot of work for one judicial officer to handle a particular number of cases successfully. But again, even when the resources are available, there is that laxity. There is that bad system of people not being accountable. they do not care, they do not know that they're actually serving the nation. They're supposed to be doing this. It's their work they're being paid for. I'm not saying it's all of them, but just a few of them, and it affects the whole system. So what we're saying is, what do we need to do to make sure the judiciary performs their role in promoting this rule of law?
Okay.
How are they benefiting? Are they working as an independent judiciary? Where can we solve? Because some of them are individual really failures. And when you talk about corruption, I'm not going to say that everyone is corrupt, but has the judiciary as an institution really done much? Has it done anything to make sure they solve these problems that they can be able, or that they're able to resolve and solve? Yeah.
Okay, all right. In that regard, so far this is day 2 of the Rule of Law Week.
Yes.
What transpired on day 1? What is expected to be on the agenda of day 2?
Right. Right now, what we're doing, we're engaging the public. We're trying to make the public get involved in knowing the citizenry. If you look at our constitution is structured, the government actually has a duty to sensitize the public, to involve the public. The public should participate in matters that involve them, matters of governance. The rule of law is an issue of governance. How do you want to be governed by the law? The laws we have, how are they helping us, or how are they not helping us? So what we've been doing is we've been having public spaces, X spaces, on a daily basis. We have these sensitizations on radio and TV across the country, sensitizing the public and the members of the public about the rule of law, about their rights, the fact that even as an individual, you as a person, you don't need someone to come and fight for your rights. You can actually fight for your rights, but you're not empowered. If you do not have the knowledge, you do not have the power. Knowledge is power. So what we're doing is we're opening it to the public and making sure that the public is aware of their rights, their duties, and what they're supposed to be doing in fighting for their rights. We have over 50 million people plus. Now, if you say, as a lawyer or as lawyers, what role can we play? We are only about 50,000. Now, if we are to be able to serve each and every citizen or to reach out to them, it might also not be possible. But we want to empower the citizenry. We are being intentional in saying out the things, speaking out and tell them, hey, listen, it's your right to go and access justice in court. When you go to court, it's your right to be heard. You don't even need a lawyer. You can go and you present your case, and it should be heard. If it is not heard in the proper way, or if the judicial officer has been corrupt, or if you're not able to access this justice, you can demand for this right, and you'll be supported. So basically, how we structured the week is on a daily basis. We have these public engagements. Every evening, you have X spaces. Up country, we're having these engagements on radio, on TV, where I want the public to come, and they also bring in their opinion, because at the end of the day, it's a representation. We're supposed to present or put across what the members of the public really want to see.
Okay. What do you hope this will help the public to have information at their fingertips? How will it help them access justice better, faster, and easier?
Access to justice in itself has, a lot of hurdles, and the biggest for the public is ignorance. The reason you find most people out there suffer there, apart from aspects like those ones who know they lack trust in the system. Because personally, I would say one of the reasons probably have only 10% of Ugandans going to courts, for example, is because some of them do not trust the system. Now, you go to places like police, every time a person gets a challenge, regardless of what it is, they'll either run to the LC or they'll run to the police. Now, the police we have, they will take up any matter, regardless of whether it is a matter that falls within their capacity or not. So now, access to justice is people need to have knowledge to know where can I go to get this and this service. If I have a civil matter, if it's a family matter, if it's a land matter, where do I need to go to access justice? Because the challenge is, if these people do not know where to go, what to do, they'll go to the wrong places.
They'll end up to the same place, which cannot give them the direct help.
Wrong people, and the wrong people give them the wrong solutions. And by the way, this should be the mandate of the government. It's government supposed to be doing this. But you find we're taking it upon ourselves, and we're hoping that probably after this week, where we've had engagements with the public, we've sensitized them about the right channels of accessing justice. They've shared, those ones who have tried to encounter or to access the justice system, and they've had challenges. We've discussed these challenges with them openly, and we call to account the judiciary, call to account the people responsible to make sure that they change and do what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
We believe that will do a better thing in fostering access to justice and improvement, because like I said, some of them are not just structural challenges. There are issues that need to be discussed. We are calling upon the public. The public is coming out. Members are actually openly talking about the challenges they faced. People are bringing complaints against particular judicial officers who have handled them the wrong way. Those are the ones who are probably tainting the image of the judiciary. But again, as the Uganda Law Society on our part, we are also playing a role of holding these institutions to account, because it's a third arm of the government, for heaven's sake. We have the executive, we have the legislature, we have, the judiciary. And as lawyers, where do we leave the public? How does the public? All these arms are meant to serve the public, guided by the laws, of course. So we believe by the end of this week, the public should be empowered enough to know their rights, to know how to access justice, where to go, and what to do in case their rights are being trampled, in case they are being prevented from accessing justice from these institutions that they are supposed to be accessing justice, so that they are able to get up and speak out and fight for their rights.
Okay. The other issue that the public has to deal with every other time they have to think of seeking justice is the cost of justice from the entry point. The legal practitioners, the fees that you slap them with when you have to offer your services to them usually cause them to think twice or delay their decision by just that thought. As a society, what are you going to do about that? How do you intend to streamline that so that it can be justice that is affordable to a Ugandan or to the public?
All right, thank you. Definitely for any advocate or for any lawyer, a legal practice is work, and there are laws that regulate and govern what they're supposed to be earning. And like you said, the cost of accessing justice is too much. It's not just the cost of a lawyer. Sometimes even filing these cases in court, the distance someone has to travel to court, the time cases take in court. There are people who are well-to-do, but others have run broke and poor because of the inefficiencies in the justice system. Someone has a case which runs about 5-6 years, it's still in the court system. And when you try to look around and see why is this case not moving, the problem is every time the judicial officer is not there, the case has been adjourned, this one has been transferred. Now, that notwithstanding, as the Uganda Law Society, we're aware of all this. And what the society has been doing, the Uganda Law Society established the Legal Aid Project. That was in 1992. And what we've been trying to do is there are sections of the public that are the poor, the marginalized, and the indigent that cannot actually afford even transport to court, even the basic, the simple basic. And it was started by the leaders of those days who saw what's happening. In our population, I think 1 out of 10 can actually afford proper legal services.
Right.
If you go deep down, there are people who are languishing. Their land is being grabbed. They have several challenges, but they cannot afford to even make a phone call to a lawyer. So what we're doing as a society is we have a section where we offer legal aid, and we also have the pro bono scheme where there are lawyers and members of the society who actually offer free legal services.
Okay.
The other unfortunate thing is, whereas we've been speaking about this, we've been saying, listen, legal aid is an aspect of access to justice. The government should take up this. We've been pushing for the national legal aid policy, where we should have a policy where the people who cannot afford justice, who cannot afford legal fees, should be availed. Advocates should be able to access justice.
Okay.
Even the legal aid that is being run by the Uganda Law Society is strictly donor funded. It's the donors, the development partners who come from where to come and support this. And I think because of lack of political will, since 2012, we've had this national legal aid bill pending in Parliament. Even the parliamentarians we've sent there, some of whom are lawyers, have not found it very necessary to pass this law. And we've been crying out loud, saying, listen, not everyone can afford. We have so many Ugandans. If you say
maybe
everyone,
that's the problem, because they're lawyers and they are afforded, they think that the rest of us can afford it. But we would like to also be joined by Ivan Walinyolo, who is in Uganda University, where the president of the Uganda Law Society, Isaac Semakate, is this morning, to also give us a glimpse into the Rule of Law Week 2024 as the leader of the society. Good morning to you, Ivan.
Well, indeed, it's a very good morning to you, Priscilla, and I'm coming to you from Uganda University, to be specific. I'm just in the main library here, the main hall, of course, where I am currently joining you from. And of what is happening here, what you're seeing behind me is the 19th annual Lawyers' Day that is just being organized, and many legal scholars will be coming here to shape mind and, of course, discuss a lot of what comes into that industry. But, of course, they are talking about culture and the law, bridging traditions and modernity. For we know many things that are evolving, trying to kind of create a friction. But of course, the minds will be discussing this, and the Katikiro for Uganda is expected to also be part of this function here. But we just want to get, of course, a sneak peek of what is really going to happen and why this day being organized. What do the scholars want to discuss about this? And some of these are, of course, the legal people in a training from this university. And I just want to speak to the president of the University Law School to just give us an insight of really what is going to happen today. And good morning and welcome with Morning at NTV.
Good morning. How are you today?
We'll start with your name, but you paint for us a picture of why really this day being organized and what is going to be talked about from this hall.
Today we are having our 19th Lawyers' Day.
Yeah.
My name is Kuganya Joven Joel, and I'm the president of the Uganda University Law Society, and I still serve as the speaker of the Uganda Law Students Association.
Okay.
The main reason why we are here today is to celebrate our annual Lawyers' Day, and it is the 19th version. We're having the theme, Culture and the Law, Bridging Traditions and Modernity, and we're expecting OHT Charles Peter Maiga to be the chief guest of the day. Yes, please.
And what you're talking about the law and the culture, why is this coming up? How are you connecting the two?
I think this is a very fitting theme for this time. We felt it as a fitting theme because sometimes we don't appreciate our culture and we're taken away by modernity, forgetting that cultures are traditions, that like norms that have been practiced for a long time. In fact, culture forms the modern times. It is a surprise that we are taken by modernity and we forget the history of where we come from. And that's why we saw that this theme is a fitting theme. And we looked at the category of Charles Peter Maiga as a person in the culture sector and the legal sector. And we considered him as a guest that is really fitting for this event. Yes, please.
We've had this discussed over time, of course. You rightly put it, the culture and the law. Sometimes you realize law is just a reflection of culture. And you coming up with this, I know many of your colleagues are going to be discussing it, but the nitty-gritties you think the law should bear in a reflection of the culture that we all own. Yes.
Yes, you cannot talk about the law and you forget culture. In fact, you will come to realize that what becomes the law are the appreciated cultural beliefs that are appreciated at a wide. For example, if you're having different cultures and they're all agreeing on one thing, that thing can come into law and it can become law if it is appreciated at a general level.
Okay. Let me also speak to the lady. Good morning, you're smart. How are you? What's your name?
My name is Mutesi Sandra. I'm the Vice President, Uganda Law Society.
Okay.
Yes.
So what do you want to discuss today in relation to the theme and the Lawyers' Day that you've organized, you as a legal person in a training?
So about this Lawyers' Day and us having the theme as culture and the law, because you know that culture is part of us. We can't do away with it, and the law must evolve. So the law must move in tandem with the culture, and they must coexist in the same way without any affecting the other. Us having that in mind, we have to find a way that these things work together, and the culture can't work alone and the law can't work alone. They must intermarry and coexist together without any affecting the other. That is what the people who will be attending this event will be understanding. How can we work that synonymously without affecting culture, without degrading it in any way? That is what is going to happen here.
How would you want the cultural leaders also to participate and also help in shaping the law. We have very many cultural leaders across the country, and the law stands to be uniform for all of us, but their participation into, making and enforcing the law. Yes.
The cultural participation of the law, because we as humans can't do away with the law. So as humans, we have to embrace the law to find a way that it will work for us. So the different cultural leaders, I just advise them to embrace the law and find a way that the law will work synonymously with them without any running away from the other. So the cultural leaders just embrace the law, speak to legal personnel, find constitutions for your different tribes, find a law. You can even inspire Parliament to do an act which will speak about the law in that direction. Yes.
In my culture, there were some things, if you broke, maybe you did something wrong, they would leave you to the cultural leaders. Maybe those petty punishments, you have to slash the well, you can maybe slash around a school, a hospital, as part of punishment. But now we're speaking about law, because we've seen some pet cases, someone steals chicken and is taken to prison for maybe 6 months. Government starts to feed that same person. But seeing that also communities that bear culture can also do something in enforcing the law.
Yes, communities can do something. That is why we don't want cultural people to run away from the law. And the Constitution is clear. All our acts are clear. For example, the Penal Code. If you have stolen, your penalty is clear. So we should just continuously embrace the law, work with it. That is why the Constitution remains as the grand norm. It tells you that any culture that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. So the law, people should just continuously embrace the law, work with it, know the law, because in that way we can continuously bridge the gap between modernity and culture. That is what I can say.
Let me also speak to the gentleman here. I'm running out of time. Good morning and welcome with Good Morning at NTV.
Good morning, sir.
What do you want to discuss today here? You're also a legal person in training. What do you want to discuss in this hall today?
Thank you, sir. First of all, my name is Ojambo Stephen Odemo. I'm a student here. I'm in year 3, and I'm the Attorney General. Well, when we talk about culture and the law, we realize that for the law to be there, there must be culture. So when you talk about culture and the law, one, if we good law originates from a certain culture. However, for culture to be active, there must be the law to regulate it. So the two must find a way to work in tandem with another. So it is a disadvantage in Africa that we are trying to run away from our cultures, appreciating other people's culture. Realize that when the whites came in Africa, one of the things that were attacked was the African culture. And for us to embrace our culture, we must go back to our roots and ask ourselves, what were our forefathers doing? How comes they came up with such a culture? And now we relate it with the modern law, what we call modernity. We relate it with the modern law. If the Bagishu are practicing homosexuality, a practice of circumcision, is it against the Constitution? Does it affect human rights? Is it against modernity? That's when we shall come up with a field that advocates for both culture and the law. Yes, please.
Okay, I'll lastly speak to the President who will give us the last words as we're winding up this. So how is the day going to be like in your own words? How is this day going to be like? I see a lot of preparations in the background. Yes.
As the Uganda Law Society, we have existed for 19 years, and this has been a tradition all along, meaning that this is the 19th annual Lawyers' Day. We are expecting the alumni community, we're expecting different legal professions, people in the legal field, and of course our chief guest, which was Charles Peter Maiga. That alone describes how the day is going to be. We are expecting a lot of learning. Our students are also going to be part of this, the university administration. A lot is going to happen today, and we are just expectant.
Okay. For time reasons, we'll leave the conversation here, but really, the three of you, thank you so much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you too, and we appreciate NTV. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to give you a feel of how this arrangement is being made. If you can see, that's where I think the discussions will be held. And the day is still fresh, like I earlier said. The Katiki of Uganda is also expected to be part of this. We know he's a cultural leader, but he's also a legal person. So that's what is going to be happening here, arrivals. And of course, everything that comes into that direction. We're also looking forward to see what transpires in the course of the day so that we can let our audience know. That's what I can tell you from here. at Uganda University.
All right, thank you.
Priscilla, I'm told you can pick the conversation away from me.
Yes.
A very good morning to you and our audience.
Good morning to you, Ivan, and you're going to be keeping us abreast with how events are going to be unfolding in Uganda University as they have their day there for rule of law. Now, bring it back to studio. I'm still with the Vice President of the Uganda Law Society, Asiimwe Anthony, and we were talking about how this is being transferred and how it's being spread out. He was talking to us about the public and how this time round they are choosing to engage the public because they are part of the utilization of the judiciary system, in which it is their focal point for this particular week, 2024. And speaking or relating to what Ivan was, talking to the young lawyers to be, it caused me to wonder, in particular, how are you actually attracting the attention of the young person? The statistics from UBOS now show us that the demographics have flipped. It's now young people marking up to 50% of our population who must intentionally have this information at their fingertips if they're going to navigate their way safely and legally around life. And so how, as the Law Society, what are you doing to ensure that this information trickles down to them?
All right. Thank you, Priscilla. Like you had the discussion and you saw the young generation, and it's true. We're now turning to the Gen Z, and you see what's happening. They're the majority. And we can't deny the fact that they are taking over. What's happening, what the Uganda Law Society is doing, we are being intentional, because now these are the bigger part of the population, they're the ones who are affected by some of these issues. So it's really a doctrinal aspect of where now we're working with universities, we're working with high schools, we've come up with rule of law clubs as the Uganda Law Society, rule of law clubs in these universities where we let the young population, the students at that level, discuss these issues. We let them participate by, they do their own research, they do the engagements. All we do is guide them. So we're having those moot competitions, we're having these rule of law clubs being active, and it's not only law students who participate in these events, like I said, even in high school. So we're supporting them to be able to discuss, instead of wasting time or spending time on just reading and discussing things and history and all that. They are now discussing the issues that are happening right now. We've given them that platform, and as the Uganda Law Society, we support them, we give them the guidance so that they're aware, because you see, the young population, like you said, is becoming the majority, and if you do not have an empowered young population, an eligible young population, then we are going to have challenges in future. So the intentionality we are doing is supporting these, the population right from at the young age, so that they grow when they've already been indoctrinated in this whole aspect. And that's why we say rule of law. It's not another club, it's rule of law clubs. So by the time they get out of school, they grow and they come into the system. We are hoping that they be different people. It's a generation that is coming up. So we cannot only focus on the generations ahead of us, which are going away anyway. We are looking at the young generation who we feel and we believe it has to create an impact. It shapes the future if you allow them participate and take charge.
All right. So Uganda's rule of law, of course, is embedded in our 1995 constitution. It's primarily there to protect human rights, but also to guide in policy making. For us as a country, where are some of those violations as far as rule of law is concerned that are continuous and are not being dealt with?
You see, when you talk about rule of law, the major principles really underlying that is that in governance, we must be governed by the law. First of all, it has to be the laws, from the formulation of the laws. It has to be the laws that are acceptable. We're talking about the Constitution, which is the grand norm, and other laws follow. But again, the laws we have should not be discriminative. It doesn't matter who you are. All of us should be under the law. It shouldn't be applied selectively. The unfortunate bit is we are seeing situations where we have laws being applied selectively, and to focus more on our on our theme for this week, there are different institutions that have roles to play in ensuring that rule of law, that governance. The Constitution talks about separation of powers. We have the executive, we have the legislature, and the judiciary. Each and every arm has a role to play. Now, in enforcing or ensuring that there's promotion of that rule, that is enshrined in the Constitution, then we must follow. We must let these institutions work. Now, you talk of violations. We have some institutions that fall under particular arms. You talk of institutions like security organs. You've seen people being tried in the court-martial. These are private people, individuals. The judiciary has a role to play there. Much as we have court rulings where it has been said, no, you cannot try civilians in the general court-martial. It is for the soldiers, it's for the army. It's still happening. Now, are we allowing, as a country, are we really promoting this rule of law? Are we allowing the rule of law to work as it is supposed to do, as per the Constitution? Those are some of the things we are facing and some of the hurdles we are fighting. You're seeing people who are held beyond the expected time. You know, someone is supposed to be held beyond 48 hours before they're produced in court. But we have people who have been there for months. They've not been able to appear before a judicial officer. Some of them have applied for bail. Bail has been denied. And the way it is being denied is not because there are reasons. It's just because some statements are made and these people are saying, no, this person cannot get out back in public. But at the time of arresting someone, they are presumed innocent. There's a presumption of innocence. So when you talk about rule of law, what you should expect is that the general public, all the institutions, individuals, regardless of who you are, you should respect and apply the law the way it is, the way it is structured, which is the unfortunate thing, because that is not how it is in this country. Okay. Yeah.
Asiimwe, there's the forgotten public. Today is the 19th of November. We do have memory of the November riots of 2020. Some of those young men and women are still behind bars to death as we speak. Some of them had to have their, release negotiated through political powers and corridors recently. And but that's just a cluster of many other people that are the forgotten public because they are on the other side behind bars. And yet they could use this information to make better legal decisions of themselves when they then have to face, the judiciary system that you're talking about. As the Uganda Law Society, what's the remedy to that?
Some of the inefficiencies we've been talking about really lead to what you saw and what you're talking about. Lives were lost. Apart from the loss of lives, we have several people who are incarcerated. They're in prisons. They're being tried in wrong courts. Even like I said, the judiciary, which at that point you should trust to do their part and say, listen, let's have these people out. They need their freedom. They need to be liberated. You find the judiciary in itself is also not doing their work, because right from the time of the arrest, the way the arrest is done, the way the incarceration is done, where they are being kept, there are no processes. The processes have been ignored. That's the reason you find someone has been there for more than 2-3 years. They've not been given a chance to be heard. They've not been told they have no hope. And just even not talking about those, if you visit prisons right now, if you went and visited prisons, the situation is bad. There are several people who are there, and their case, they don't even have any hope that their cases are going to be tried, that they're going to appear before judicial officers. That's the reason you see some people, like you said, politically, someone will say, these days judiciary has come up with aspects of plea bargain. Someone will say, I'd rather plead guilty, and I know the time I'm going to spend in prison, other than stay here waiting for a trial. But again, like we said, there are some underlying inefficiencies that are affecting them. Some of these, like you said, it's the political, it's the way we've degenerated, the degeneration of the rule of law and respect for human rights.
Okay.
That is why we're having those people who are behind bars. And as a Uganda Society, we've come out to speak, because you're not just going to come out and represent a single person when there are several millions of people suffering. So what we do as the Law Society is to put this to public, to call these institutions to account. If you are calling all the necessary individuals and institutions involved in that system, in fostering, in ensuring that people get justice, but they're the ones trampling on that, we call out on them to account and do their part and what they're supposed to do to ensure that the citizens benefit from the mandate these people are supposed to serve.
All right, Asiimwe, as we are closing this conversation, on the 22nd, Rule of Law Week is going to come to an end. What are the expected outcomes and then futuristic plans as the Uganda Law Society generally to oversee and make sure that you guide and navigate the rule of law accordingly?
All right, thank you, Priscilla. Now, what we do on a daily basis as the mandate of the society, of the bar, is to assist government in most of these aspects to do with law, with law. And the rule of law, which we are trying to foster, is every activity we do on a daily is fostering the rule of law and access to justice in Uganda. Now, the fact that we've put aside this week does not necessarily mean that we are doing this only in this week. It's just that we're trying to create this awareness and making it a special event. But as we sum up the week, we intend to continue building up on the outcomes of this week. If we've had the engagements with the population, they've made recommendations. Where do we come in as the Uganda Law Society in pushing for those recommendations, in engaging or holding to account the institutions and the individuals that are supposed to be doing their work in the promotion of the rule of law. So as we sum up the week, we are getting the discussions from the public. People are participating. They are giving us their recommendations. They are measuring their expectations. And for every recommendation, there's a responsible person, individual or institution, or a particular group of people. And as the Uganda Law Society, what we need to do is, because the people expect a lot from us as the society, all we need to do is to play our part to ensure that their expectations or their recommendations that we're able to foster and push forward, we're able to do that. And we continue creating the awareness. We do not stop just with this week.
All right, thank you so much, Anthony Asiimwe, who's the Vice President with the Uganda Law Society. And you can be able to engage on the social media spaces, X spaces, and they'll be having engagements every evening for this whole week. Now, as we get into a break, when we return, we're going to be having Stephen Bide, who's going to be discussing with the business community on what they think of the interest rate cap that was put through a bill that was recently revised in that consideration, and how this actually opens up opportunities for banks, but then what are the pros and cons on the business side of things.